Welcome into Best Ball and Brews. This is Fling here with dfsarmy, and I got Tom from Fantasy Pros, and more importantly, I think Fantasy Sanctuary, your own channel. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, doing good, man. Like this is my favorite time of year. Once best ball season's going, and even though there's a bit of lull in information between like mini camp and when we get into training camp, like this is the time to start taking your stands. We've got as much information as we're going to get with ADP kind of as it is at the minute. So now it's like time to work out how you want to target these contests, where you want to take your stands, and really just be ready for it when the news comes and ready to adjust.
Yeah, I love that, and that's why I wanted to have you on, Tom, because you got such a sharp best ball mind. You know, it's funny. Me and Tom go back to it was like 2020. We were in a DFS group together, just trying to guys, just small creators trying to support each other's work. So we've known each other a little bit and never hopped on a stream together. So I was like, we're overdue. It's time.
Yeah, man, been trying to work it out various points over the last couple of years in particular, and we've just never made it happen. So glad we can tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. This is going to be a good tattoo. Tattoo always with the offbeat comments. It's hilarious. Yeah, it's going to be good. So I like what you said there. And of course, we're going to hop into a draft here in a second, guys. We'll get everyone a chance to get in here. But I like what you said because, so much when I listen to, a lot of the best ball bros, best ball content creators, it's a lot about just like pockets of, when we don't have a ton of information and we're guessing, and you can get these really good ADP values before we get training camp and we see these guys, spike way up in ADP.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like we're currently kind of seeing a bunch of changes anyway. Like look at Rashi Rice now up to 22nd overall on Underdog. A few weeks ago he was in round 3. You look at guys like Colston Loveland, who's falling like 20 spots over the course of the last 2 weeks because of a shoulder injury. I mean, the shoulder injury has been knocking around for a while. They've known about that. It was a 6-month recovery, but because he wasn't out there in minicamp, we're getting these little bits of ADP value or potentially changes in ADP. So definitely, it's always kind of one of those where you can kind of break your draft portfolio up across the entire season and work out when you want to be taking stands on certain players and when you want to be backing off them.
Definitely. Yeah, it's very much something to think about for someone, especially like yourself, that is doing a lot of drafts. Like how many drafts do you normally do? I know it's kind of hard this year because, stuff going on in the UK, but with best ball, DraftKings and all that. But
yeah, DraftKings pulling out definitely harmed things a lot. Like last year was probably somewhere around 400 total. And then this year I'm just coming to like max entered the $2 on drafters in one go, and I'm just out like my final 5. But at one point I had 150 drafts going at once on there, so that was pretty full on. But like, it gives you that kind of moment where it's like I'm going to draft 150 teams whilst all the ADP is pretty similar, and I can work out exactly which players within this snapshot I want to take the stands on, saying I think the ADP on this player won't be available for a long time. But now after this, I'll pivot to FFPC for most of the rest of this season. Like tomorrow, I'll be in the Superflex contest on there. Like that's a contest I finished 6th in a couple of years ago. And I think that Superflex Titan Premium gives you a load of different ways you can build. So there's still some options, but I probably won't be quite as high volume as I have been in years past.
Definitely, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense to think about it. If you're doing a lot of drafts, to think about it, a lot of different ways. So that's why I wanted to get you on here. And we got some sharp people here in the crowd. Ray, he's always on with us. Ray he won the puppy last year for 200K. So, and I've mainly been focusing on the weekly winners and the eliminators. Which I told you a little bit, but today we're going to do more traditional best ball format on Underdog. So Ray, you'll be happy to join this one. So we'll hop in. Tattoo. I think we kind of knew that Ayuk wasn't really going to be ready to go the start of the season, but yeah, week 10. That's like kind of terrible, right?
Yeah, I mean. It still seems like there's a bit of we might see him slightly earlier than that, we might not. But like, I was kind of surprised that people were expecting anything different. Like Adam Schefter, I think it was 27th of March, reported that Ayuk wasn't going to be ready till mid-season. And then, like, I'm not trying to diss for Twitter doctors. Some of them are fantastic at what they do and know far more of this stuff than me. But a lot of them seemed optimistic that he was going to be ready way ahead of schedule. And it just never really made sense to me where that optimism was coming from. And I mean, look, I like Juwan Jennings, I like Ricky Pearsall at value, and I love George Kittle. Those are the guys who I'd rather be targeting right now, because one of the guys in our Fantasy Sanctuary Discord has put it out several times. Look how bad Brandon Ayuk was last year when he didn't have a proper offseason, and Ayuk talked about how difficult it was having that truncated offseason, and now he's got like the most truncated offseason, the most difficult version.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wasn't really in on Brandon Ayuk at cost.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. My theory is just kind of players already get hurt, so let's not draft hurt players, unless they're coming at a big discount. That's just really kind of my approach to drafting in general.
Yeah, definitely. There's got to be a massive upside to kind of make it worthwhile.
Most definitely. Well, you ready to hop into a schnauzer?
Let's do it, man. Was this the one that launched like yesterday?
No, this one is about to fill though, so
okay.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to rattle off a bunch of these, but they're $3. That's why I like them though. Much like you, I was in the draft, some of those drafters mini slow drafts with you. I love the low stakes. Give me a bunch of $2, $3 drafts. I'm all about it.
Yeah, man. Like these contests, like obviously we want to win, but there are also ones where you can work out how you want to draft and what it looks like. Like I did a couple on drafters where all I took were rookie running backs, refused to take anybody who was, had even more than a game's experience in the NFL, just to see how viable that was. So then you can start going, okay, when I build a team entirely based with rookie running backs, maybe I don't want to do that forever for every team. But if I go 4 rookie running backs, 5 rookie running backs, will it be something I'm comfortable with? So the low stakes are definitely fun for all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, agree with that. All right, so we're gonna do 20-second clock. We get everyone a chance.
Let's go.
This is a schnauzer 20-second clock. I got a thought on that, by the way, but just want to get this started in case we do have a long wait. All right, looks like we're in. So hopefully someone got in with us. But I was gonna say, I think when you look back at past drafts, and you try to get some actionable information from it, so many times it's just it'll tell you what was the story of last year. Last year was a story of the rookie quarterback. So, you can't always just be like, oh, well, rookie quarterbacks worked last year, so I'm going to go after rookie quarterbacks this year, right? It's very specific to that draft class. And I think one of the stories of this draft class could be the rookie running backs and the rookie tight ends. So I do like some approaches like that, Tom.
Yeah, definitely. And your point about what happened last year is entirely valid, because you go back and you can see like Jamar Chase's advance rate was like ludicrous amounts. Saquon Barkley, I think, had a 51% advance rate last year. So, essentially, if you drafted Saquon Barkley and didn't make the playoffs, then you were in the minority and then the year before you go back and Christian McCaffrey had like a 36% advance rate. So you've always got to kind of try and take that with a pinch of salt and then look at everything, and not just look at just the pure advance rates to the playoff rounds. It's looking at what worked throughout the playoff rounds, because advancing Saquon Barkley didn't really matter when it came down to the finals, because it was Jonathan Taylor, Jamar Chase team that won everything on BBM. So Jonathan Taylor had been pretty rubbish for most of the season, but pulls out 42% of his entire season points in week 16, 17. So yeah, always looking at that stuff, but always try to think how that can play forward this year.
Yeah, most definitely. That's a great point. All right, Tom, I'm going to let you make this pick for me. And I guess we'll kind of decide where we're going here. So we're picking 6th.
Man, Bijan would have been a complete smash. Let's
Gibbs, Puka.
I'm going to say Puka. I think we're kind of seeing a little bit of a fall on Jahmyr Gibbs right now. And whilst I don't disagree with it, I just really like Puka. I think the Rams are going to be much more viable for fantasy in terms of the passing game. Like Puka Nacua, the one thing he's not been good at across the course of his career is scoring touchdowns. He only had 9 touchdowns across 2 seasons. I think that the Rams really struggled last year. Matthew Stafford only threw for 1 or 0 touchdowns in 10 of his games last year, which really made him much less of a fantasy asset. But I think that what we're going to see from Davante Adams, particularly in the red zone, is a more lethal passing game there. And in turn, that should help bring coverage away from Puka Nacua. So I think Puka Nacua is going to score double-digit touchdowns this year and really just kind of give himself a chance to elevate to the top. Are you in on Nacua?
Yeah, I one of my early, season exposures as far as just overall stacks has very much been the Rams. I'm in on Nacua. I'm in on Davante Adams, and pairing them with Stafford, great. If you at least trying to get one of Puka and Adams in a lot of drafts, because I think that's a team you want to target. To your point, Cooper Kupp was just terrible last year. I bought the hype that he was injured the year before and that he was going to get healthy and we're going to have a resurgence. And he just looked very done to me. So I couldn't be happier to get Davante Adams as a number 2 in that offense.
Yeah, it was just a complete he just couldn't get open, could he?
No, it was not good. And that's Cooper Kupp's been one of my fades this year, as because of a result of it. So we're on the clock here. Do we double up wide receiver? What are your thoughts?
I'd be fine with that. I don't mind Jonathan Taylor. I was a bit cool on him, but I'm trying to get a bit more now. We've got Daniel Jones. Otherwise, it'd be Rashee Rice for me.
All right. You know what? I haven't gotten a lot of Rashee Rice. I've kind of been fading Rashee Rice a little bit at his cost right now, and there's so many smart people that are on Rashee Rice that I'm like, I need to rethink this, because my thoughts are, I think Xavier Worthy is I think he's a superior talent. I understand that Rashee Rice fits into the offense like near the line of scrimmage and a lot of that stuff, and Worthy, is kind of viewed as more as a deep threat. But I think Worthy can develop into more, and we kind of saw that as the season went on. And I just think Rashee Rice is just a little high for me. But I'm coming around on it because so many smart people are all in on him that I'm thinking maybe I'm wrong on that.
No, and I'm with you. I haven't taken a lot of Rice. I think, though, his price is only going up. But it's like a lot of people extrapolate the 3-game sample from last year. But I think you've got to go back to the previous year, his final 6 games, what he did in the playoffs in his rookie year, which was also really impressive. And yes, a lot of it can be tied to whether Travis Kelce performs, but I just think that we're going to see a more complete offense this year from the Chiefs. I think Andy Reid talked today about how they want to get back to passing the ball further downfield. And whilst that's not amazing for Rashee Rice because we want him close to the line of scrimmage, if they open that up, then defenses will pay less attention to the stuff near the line of scrimmage. So I'm kind of fine with it.
Right.
But yeah, I like the combination of Nacua and Rice. I think in theory, that could be a very high volume combination.
Definitely. And so do you think, looking at the room here, do we grab Breece Hall or do we just Davante Adams? Let's just double up.
Hey man, let's just stack it up and just keep going. Yeah. I really like Davante Adams.
Okay, I'm with you. So yeah, I was gonna ask, what is your general approach? Obviously, a guy like you, I've read your articles on Fantasy Pros, breaking down hero RB. Anchor RB, obviously a variation of that, or zero RB or robust RB. What are you kind of leaning towards this year, specifically in underdog drafts? That's like half PPR.
So last year was kind of like the watershed moment for zero RB. Everybody was doing it. You go back to 2020 and only 4% of drafters on Underdog were doing zero RB. Last year, 21% of drafts on BBM were zero RB. And then it failed spectacularly. It had an advance rate of 8%. So basically, if you did zero RB, you gave yourself half a chance that you had if you didn't. So I think the overcorrection this year is going to be massive. And I think that the amount of rookie running backs we've got of real quality is going to lead to a situation where zero RB can be a real potential league winner again this year, and I think it's a great year for it. So I'm doing a lot of zero RB and a lot of hero RB. I still like to mix in dual running back builds occasionally, but it's just a little bit harder. So but when I go zero RB, I do tend to try and prioritize getting an elite quarterback or an elite tight end, because that's what makes the difference. That's what Sean Siegel, when he wrote about the original theory way back in 2014, was talking about. And for me, that makes George Kittle an absolute smash here.
I was just going to say that. I haven't gotten enough Kittle either. And I've been making it a point the past few days to start hammering George Kittle. And I like that because I'm with you on that, Tom. I typically build a lot of a zero RB. And it's just kind of, if you think about the way to take down like a large field tournament, it's kind of like in DFS, right? Like it's, zigging while others zag. And last year was so uncharacteristic in the fact that we had all these aging running backs who just absolutely smashed and didn't get hurt. So do we think that lightning is going to strike twice in that regard? Or do we think we're probably going to go back to more of the norm?
Well, Pat Crane did some great stuff on this last year, talking about how it's the elite tight ends when they hit can absolutely carry you through playoffs because their ceiling is just so much better. There are so few tight ends capable of 90 yards per game, more than just like a one-off fluke. So yeah, I think that George Kittle is somebody I want, whereas last year, obviously, the Niners were wrapping down by that point. Mark Andrews had his struggles. Travis Kelce had his major struggles. But in general, I think they're bets that I'm comfortable making, and particularly on Underdog, if I can go two tight ends rather than going two quarterbacks, that's generally my lean. I feel like the quarterbacks give you the potential stacking opportunities that give you leverage week to week through the playoffs, whereas tight ends, I just want to be fairly safe in the position and just be done with them more often than not.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's so tilting with tight ends. It's like if you have one that you can rely on, it's awesome, as opposed to just picking three tight ends and you hope one of them gives you 10 points,
Yeah.
So we go Chuba Hubbard here, Kenneth Walker. I'm kind of out on Kamara, and especially in half PPR.
My lean would be Kenneth Walker, but if you like Chuba Hubbard, go with Chuba.
I'm good with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, if he stays healthy, I think he has a higher upside. I'm a little worried about Chuba this year with Rico Dowdle, and just so much of his efficiency last year was, touchdowns. And is he going to run that hot again? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, for me, it's an easy decision with Kenneth Walker. Everything the Seahawks have done seems to suggest that they're going to be a run-heavy team. They fired their offensive coordinator. They traded away Geno. They traded away DK Metcalf. They cut Tyler Lockett. And Mike McDonald, who comes from the Ravens coaching staff where everything was about hold the defense and run the ball, it felt so much like he wanted to run the ball more impressively last year. I know the offensive line isn't necessarily a great one, of his question marks there, but I think Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are both going to have really nice years. So I just lean towards them. Chuba, I don't mind. And, the Panthers have done a great job of reinforcing their offensive line. I think Bryce Young's an ascending talent, but Rico Dowdle last year, he was a top 24 running back in half his games, and I think that he ended up with the fifth most rushing yards from week 10 onwards. So
yeah,
we've seen enough from Rico that I believe that he'll probably mix in a reasonable amount.
Yeah, for sure. And I haven't been full fading him or anything. I'm just not as high as on him as I initially thought I would be this year. Started looking at it a little more. So we are coming up again here. I like Travion Henderson this year. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I don't mind Travion. Obviously, he goes off the board the second that we say that. So, we could circle back to him. I don't mind David Montgomery at cost. I think that he's a fine player and still going to have a good amount of touchdowns. Otherwise, I'd go down to Ricky Pearsall for the double Niners play.
Yeah, that's a good point. We could have got Ricky and then tried to stack him up with Purdy.
Yeah. But hey, I don't think that that's a bad one at all. I think, David Montgomery, obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs was incredible in the games without Monty last year, but Monty's still going to have the goal line work. I think, we're just going to keep seeing things maybe slightly tilt towards Gibbs. And everybody says, well, what if something happens to Montgomery and Montgomery gets injured? Well, what if something happens to Jahmyr Gibbs? How high do you suddenly start ranking David Montgomery every week? How much of a autoplay is he in DFS?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it goes both ways, right? People just assume that the older guy's going to get injured, but, ACLs get torn with young kids too. So It
Yeah,
happens.
that's it. You know, I mean, like, look at Rashi Rice. Patrick Mahomes literally
Yeah.
headbutted his knee last year. Like,
Yeah.
we can't be we can't be counting on stuff just because David Montgomery's a bit older than Jahmyr Gibbs.
Absolutely. All right. So we're about to pick here, and then I have a question for you. So we got 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. Let's see how the board is shaping up. Do we take
Ricky
Mahomes to
Pearsall.
stack, or do we?
No, Ricky Pearsall.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
do
yeah,
the
you're right.
minus
He
stack.
made
He
it
made it
back
all the
to
way
us.
back to us. Got to
Oh, my
take that.
gosh.
I didn't want to say anything till the pick was
No,
in.
I wasn't even paying attention. I can't believe he made it back to us. We'll see
Love
if
it.
maybe or not.
Yeah.
We'll see if Purdy falls a little bit, but we might not have to. Might be able to get him at a good spot.
What's your kind of lean on quarterbacks? You tend to be more of a 2 QB guy, a 3 QB guy?
So I've been more of a, I mean, my thought process is if I get an elite one, it's only 2, like every time, I won't stray from that. I've been experimenting with getting 2 quarterbacks that have rushing upside and just going with 2. Like I've been able to pair Drake May and Cam Ward a couple times this year. And I'm like, they bring enough of a floor that I think in this situation, if Drake May takes a type of step we think he can take this year, that I would be okay with just those 2 guys. But typically, if I don't get an elite one, I tend to go for 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
All right. So we could.
I mean, I'd be okay with if you were wanting Mahomes here. I think that's fine. I do think they're a reasonable opportunity this year.
All right, let's take Ibuka. I think we're gonna. I could be wrong, but my kind of thought process, since we doubled up here with Pearsall and Kittle, is we can take Purdy and then we could take Stafford. What do you think?
No, I think that's a good shout. I don't have any problem with that at all. I mean, for me, it's like sometimes just taking that kind of DFS mindset of going, we'll take the team stacks and correlations, even if we don't get the quarterbacks. I'm fine with it. But leaning towards the guys with double stack definitely makes plenty of sense. Hopefully, because we've double stacked Stafford, nobody else should be interested in him. But you never know, do you? Particularly in these low stakes ones.
Yeah. And it looks like we should be able to get Purdy, assuming that we don't get sniped on him. I mean, it's someone who took Jennings. He might have gone back here. But I was going to ask you, Tom, because I haven't done a ton of traditional best ball so far this year, because I've done a lot of drafts on drafters, which is cumulative scoring. So I'm not worried about week 17. Weekly winners, same thing. I'm not really giving any thought to week 17. In the eliminator, which is more of like a cash game, because it's half the field's eliminated after the first week, and then you just go in a series of head-to-heads. So I haven't given it much thought to week 17 stacking. What is how strong are you on week 17 stacking? Like, how much are you trying to stack for week 17?
Yeah, I think, it's the obvious upside swing. We're not trying to go nuclear on it. I'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, Brock Purdy.
Yes. 100%.
But it's one of those situations where anyone who's played DFS knows that there's a level to it where it's just kind of undeniable. The correlation stuff, it makes sense. But I'm not trying to force it. I'm not pulling pairings up that are obvious. Obviously, the Bengals-Cardinals, one which everybody lost their mind over straight away when it came out, because it's potential to be 2 defenses that could give up a lot of points, 2 teams who could potentially play fast. But then the pairings towards the top of the board become very obvious. You're looking at Jamar Chase, McBride, Jamar Chase, Marvin Harrison teams. So kind of more looking at what you can get different with. Like the Ravens-Packers was one that was a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
Chargers-Texans felt like one which had some fun in it.
Yeah.
And then also looking at games like Jets-Patriots. I mean, like last year, the Browns, I forget who it was who we played in week 17, but the Browns were a team who people were saying that you had to avoid because of bad weather games and because of low over-under totals. And then you get Joe Flacco there, the fantasy god, and all of a sudden it's just turning nuclear. So just using it as a tiebreaker now and again, not ignoring it, not forcing things for the sake of it. Like, obviously, here with the 49ers, it'd be nice if we could find a player like maybe Colston Loveland, maybe take a falling Luther Burden who's going down in ADP, or spinning it to the other side with the Rams and seeing if we can get somebody from that game, which is against the Falcons. We're too late for the likes of Darnell Mooney now. Could always take a dart throw at Kyle Pitts, but now that we're back on, what are you feeling?
I'm probably leaning Ramondre over Javonte. What are your thoughts between those two? I think we need another running back.
Yeah, I think the mix between Ramondre and Travion is fair, whereas Javonte just feels still overpriced for me.
Yeah.
I'm not buying into the idea that he's as clear of the RB1 as some people are.
I know. I mean, trust me, as a Broncos fan, I've watched every snap of his the past 2 years, and he just doesn't look like the same guy.
Yeah.
To your point earlier, I did one of these, and I asked that because you have all the Week 17 stacks memorized. I got to look at my cheat sheet here, courtesy of Underdog. But to your point earlier, like I like to do it when it lines up, when it's not like minus EV to do it. So like I had a Ravens stack, and I was able to get like Matthew Golden like at ADP. Yeah. So I liked that one.
Yeah, that's it. Like stuff like that, or when you can get the correlations across week 16, 17, those little trickle ones where it's like, right, if I grab a few players from this pool of like 3 teams that are going to cross over, or those are the ones which I'm willing to be a bit more aggressive on. But just for the sake of saying I've got a week 17 stack, it's just, I think most of the best ball community who are sickos like us and drafting far too many teams have come to the realization that it's not really worth doing that.
Sure. Well, and that's kind of my thing too. When you look at DFS contests, I think week 17 for the Schnauzers, like 350 entries, right? Like you should already have correlation in your build, stacking your quarterback and your wide receiver, or, you do another like little stack. Maybe you got, all right, let's go back to this thought in a second.
Dude, Justin Fields, 26 spots past ADP. Like,
yeah, love that.
I mean, do we just take him and ignore Stafford, or consider whether we want to take Stafford later?
Yeah, I think I love that because we're getting unique right there, right, with him falling, and I don't think we need to stack him, or we could
just see if he falls.
Stack with Mason Taylor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd be quite happy to just like say maybe we take like 18th round Josh Reynolds or something like that, and really not prioritize it too much. Like Josh Reynolds was good for the Lions for a couple of years. Everything that the Jets are saying is they want to emulate that offense. They see Braylon Allen and David Montgomery as kind of like a tag team, maybe a lesser tag team than Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. But I think we're going to see plenty of Josh Reynolds because I think Alan Lazard looks cooked. It seems like he will stay with the team, but I don't know. I'd rather bet on Josh Reynolds, who's slightly younger and slightly more in upside.
I like that. And to finish my point earlier, I was just kind of thinking, like, let's say you have Ramondre Stevenson. Let's say you like the Patriots this year. You have Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry or Demario Douglas. Like, that is still a week 17 stack because it's a team stack, right?
Yeah.
But I understand the scenario of like one game goes off and that's the game you need, and you got 2 players from that game. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. I just think, sometimes we overthink it, but I also think part of that goes into how many drafts are you doing? So for someone like yourself or, some other guys who are doing 1,000 drafts, they're going to get weird with it, 100 different ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did a stream last night with Rob Coakley from Spike Week.
I listened to it. It was good.
We pulled Nico Collins all the way up just to get a really weird team from the front, and then it's like you take one big stand and then you make it work after that. Coming back to here, I quite like Rashad White. I feel like he's being slept on a bit. I don't mind if you want to go J.K. Dobbins for your Broncos instead, though.
Let's go Rashad White because we just talked about this. We have a little secondary stack here with Rashad White and Ibuka. So I like that. I've been hitting Dobbins a little bit lately too. So I'm like, let's mix it up.
Yeah, and just on Rashad White, I think that he's going to catch plenty of balls this year. Like, he really is a good pass catcher. And one thing, we had JJ Zachariason on the show with us not too long ago, and he was talking about how this year he's just focusing so much of his running back projections around how much players catch the ball, because it just counts so much more for fantasy and even in a half PPR setting. And like, I love Bucky Irving, but I think that Rachaad White is possibly being ignored a little too hard.
Of course, and it's to the point you made a little while ago. Like, what about if Bucky Irving gets hurt?
Yeah,
it can happen. It's interesting. I had Neil on last week, and we were looking at the weekly winners, and that's one thing that he kind of talked about as specifically towards the beginning of the draft. Like, one of the best ways to get different is to just scroll down, like in the first couple rounds, where you get these really rare combinations that no one else is going to have.
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't take a lot. It's like you literally pull one player across to the opposite side of the board and it changes things dramatically. And then, you can sit back and you can scoop value later on. Like, if we pulled someone across today and then got like 26 spots on Justin Fields, I'd have been ecstatic. I quite like Cedric Tillman. I'd be willing to take him here, or unless you want to, and then see if Stafford falls to us maybe in the next round.
Let's do it. Yeah, we got a Stafford double, so I mean, there's a good chance he'll fall. But you never know. You never know. Someone waited on quarterback, hasn't taken one yet. They're just gonna do a backdoor snap with Stafford.
What are the teams like? How many teams are kind of set at quarterback at the minute?
Yeah. So we're going this way. We got two.
Yeah. There's pretty much everyone's got two so far, apart from the team on the one turn who just took Tua as their first, but they're probably not. Yeah, I think Stafford's going to make it back to us, and if he doesn't, then so be it. We've got the upside swing on Justin Fields.
I'm with you. Yeah, that's what I like about Fields, and I've been trying to get more. If you don't get a stud quarterback, like if you don't get Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, I've been trying to give myself outs with just one quarterback that I know has a really high, rushing floor, like Fields, essentially, or maybe more this year.
I mean, Fields had 2 games last year where he rushed for multiple touchdowns in them.
Yeah.
Like, when he got benched, it probably wasn't all on him. It was more just Steelers are such a headstrong organization, had made up their mind. Like, I don't think that he played overly badly. He set career highs in, I think it was completion rate and I can't remember what else, but I remember thinking that he definitely had made some strides, and now it seems like the Jets are really going to try and support him in a way that he's perhaps not been supported before. So, like on an individual week, it seems hard to say that Fields' ceiling is, anywhere close to Matthew Stafford's. Like, Matthew Stafford just hasn't really displayed it. But with the double stack, I'd still be fine taking Stafford if he makes it past this pick.
I agree. I think we got to do it. This guy has May and Burrow, so who knows? I mean, you never say never, because like just when you think, there we go, he made it. Just when you think someone's going to make it, they go a pick before you, and you're like, great. Happens too often.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I think we're in a really nice spot now, like in terms of the stacks, the correlations, the massive value on Justin Fields. This feels like a really strong team.
Definitely. We can do one other tight end and just be good with it, obviously. If we want the correlation, we can do Mason Taylor. We can also – what are your thoughts on Ferguson late with Stafford?
I don't mind Ferguson. Like, if Mason Taylor got taken before we were wanting to take him, an ADP of 186, so we've got a little while, then it'll be an easy pivot to go Ferguson or even Tyler Higbee and just saying, okay, well, we've got something when we don't have George Kittle. I think Ferguson's probably going to end up sitting for a decent bit of time unless something happens to Tyler Higbee. But yeah, I'm down with either way that works out.
Agreed. All right. What do we got here, Ray? One team with Jake Browning.
I mean, what if that's what you need?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, man. So who are your teams that you're trying to target this year specifically?
So well, let's get this picked done. I don't
Yeah.
want to start. There we go. Man, we could be done with. We could take Rico Dowdle and then be done at running back, and that gives us that kind of hedge that we were talking about earlier
Let's do that.
against Tuba.
Yeah.
So in terms of teams that I'm trying to target a lot of now, that it feels more and more likely that Anthony Richardson isn't going to play a lot for the Colts. I'm really trying to catch up on those pass catchers, particularly like Tyler Warren. I think is somebody I didn't draft enough of early, but all the reports out of Colts training camp is that he's constantly catching the ball. Love Josh Downs. Michael Pittman's a guy who isn't far removed from a 150 target season, and we just don't get many wide receivers who do that. Now I know it's Daniel Jones, but I think Daniel Jones is a bit better at being able to support more than one option than Anthony Richardson was. The Colts play fast, like even last year with Anthony Richardson, like they started really fast and then slowed down. They were still a top 10 in pace team. I think that the Dolphins are a sneaky buy low opportunity because I think their defense is going to be terrible. Once Jalen Ramsey's out of town, it really could just it's like name a cornerback for the Dolphins who isn't Storm Duck. Like it's not an easy challenge. So I'm very much in on Drake May as well. And then, my Ravens, I'm always going to have bad amounts of Ravens. In general, those are the kind of guys that I think are a little bit sneaky. And part of me really wants to believe this is the year that it clicks for Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. It's got to happen someday.
I'm with you. I've gotten a lot of Brian Thomas Jr., but I haven't gotten enough Travis Hunter. I know he's super risky. Also, I haven't gotten enough Lawrence. I haven't been able to connect those doubles very often, but I'm hoping that Travis Hunter will drop a little bit and I can start hammering him just because of the upside. But let's take probably got to draft another wide. Oh, there's Mason Taylor. We could just
let's do Mason Taylor and be done with it. I think that works nicely. And then if we want to double stack Fields, and we could always add Josh Reynolds.
In
one of our last couple of picks. But for now, you look at a team, and this just kind of ticks all the boxes for me.
Okay, absolutely. Coker's been a guy getting a lot late. I think he's underrated. I think he's going too late, in my opinion. He looked great last year, and I saw Draft Sharks had some advanced stats on him, and he was just one of the best from a routes run basis last year.
Yeah, I definitely I don't mind taking the swing on Coker. I've been a little wary of how expensive he gets because I just think Tet can be such a volume hog. Thielen could be such a volume hog at times, and it just feels like I don't want to go too crazy on it, but I don't dislike it at the same time. So coming up here with we've got a 3-5-6-2. I think we're done at tight end and definitely done at quarterback. I'd be okay just putting these last two picks. Well, splitting them, one running back, one wide receiver. Would that work for you?
All right. Maybe we wait and we'll try to get Reynolds. We could get Corum.
I was going to say, should we split it and maybe not go too heavy on the Rams? I was looking at Brashad Smith or
him. I like that because Pacheco, I lost money on Pacheco in the playoffs last year, especially. I was like, he's going to get it going. And then it was Kareem Hunt the whole way. And I'm like, I'm back in on Pacheco thinking that he's going to return to the Pacheco that we remember before the injury. But what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't?
I think we're just kind of seeing more and more evidence for players coming off cracked fibulas. Not players, but we're going to see good returns from too soon. And Pacheco, I mean, really, when you look back, he's had some high ceiling moments, but he's never been incredible in terms of total fantasy points scored over the course of the season. So I'm not really with it. In terms of that question, Pearsall or Jennings straight up, I've gone back and forth a lot on this one, but I think I do just lean towards Pearsall and just say first round draft capital maybe is enough.
It's funny because I've I've been on the other side of that. I've gotten a lot of Jennings because he just looked the part of a wide receiver one when Ayuk was out last year. But I get it. And Pearsall was a guy that a lot of people had ranked really high. Yeah. Matt Waldman, as a guy I'm a big fan of, rookie scouting portfolio. He had Pearsall as one of his top guys. So I'm thinking I need to be evening it out a little bit in my exposures and getting more Pearsall because I think it could go either way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like not necessarily mutually exclusive. Like that's a double stack, which I'm not seeing a lot of people getting. So if you can engineer that double stack, maybe that's the way to go when you're picking it around one of the turns and pulling one player up and just make sure you lock them both in.
Yeah. Let me say this. I'm big on the Bengals this year. Just because I think their defense is going to be even worse than last year. Yep. And I know everyone, all the best ball content creators are like, but everyone's on the Bengals. I think the way you get different is you target a lot of Taj Brooks because in the event that Chase Brown goes down or just that it's, an offense that you need and Taj Brooks plays that Zach Moss role and gets goal line carries, like I think he could be the difference maker maybe that you need in week 17,
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of his.
Like I really like Chase Brown. Like I just think 20.6 PPR points per game last year from week 9 onwards, 23.6 touches. He really had to earn his role in pass protection, and I don't know enough about Taj to say whether he's going to be a good pass protector straight away. But if he's not, then I think it opens up the door for P. Ryan, for Zach Moss to get back in there. And I just kind of worry a little bit about that. But I like taking Jamar Chase and then putting Chase Brown on the stack with him and then trying to get Joe Burrow rather than try to do the Chase Higgins double stack and just saying, I want pieces of this offense all over. I think that Mike Gesicki is a really good value. They signed him back to a contract very early, really.
I'm with you. Or the event that T. Higgins gets hurt and you get, Yoshi Voss or, Jermaine Burton. Yeah, maybe he's not gambling on Saturday nights anymore, I just think, to your point, I started a draft on Drafters, which I love Chase. I'll click Chase Brown's name every time on Drafters, full PPR. Yeah. But I started I got Chase, Higgins, Brown, and was able to sack with Burrow and then got Kittle. And I was like, not a lot of people are going to do this. And I wouldn't do a lot of drafts this way, but I'll do this one this way because, I got quarterback and tight end earlier than most people are comfortable with. And, I was able to do Burrow +3. Maybe it pays off, maybe it doesn't, but I think just thinking about different ways to attack it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
But, all right, you got time for one more, Tom, or you got to go?
Oh, yeah, I can do another.
Okay. We'll hop back into the Schnauzer. Guys, we're gonna try to get some people in here. You're sticking around. I know you missed the last one, so let's do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh. Hopefully someone snuck in here. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I guess everyone's just drafting the Schnauzer right now.
You gotta get in before it fills.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone made it in here. I don't recognize any of these names, but we're picking a little later, so
sweet.
Right. Yeah. All right, we got 30 seconds.
So what's like is there any strong stances that you're making in the first round at the minute?
No, I don't think that I've been making incredible strong stands yet in the first round. I will say more times than not, I've been picking a wide receiver with my first pick. I've been, even when Saquon's there, I've been passing on Saquon, taking Lamb, taking Jefferson. I just think that, to your point earlier, I think there's going to be an overcorrection, and I've just been trying to get some wide receivers early, and, I'm going to hit the rookie running backs more times.
Makes sense. Yeah, definitely. I don't think that it's a first round this year where you need to take strong stances. I think there's so many good players there that I'm okay with it. I want to have at least 5% exposure to everyone in the first round if I can make it work.
Right. Sorry, Ivan. It sucks because Ivan Drago, he's a new dfsarmy staff member, and he's been in every single one of these drafts. Like every stream we've done, he's been drafting. So feel bad.
Christian McCaffrey at the 104, man.
Yeah, that's early. I will say I have not clicked McCaffrey's name a lot this year when given the opportunity.
But he's only getting more expensive, and I think it's going to carry on. Like,
Yeah.
I still worry. I know people are saying, but he's healthy now. Well, yeah, but for how long?
Yeah.
Should we mix it up and take Genty or Nico?
Yeah, I was thinking about Nico. Let's do Genty. I've got so much. I've got so much Nico so far this year.
Yeah, same.
I love Nico. So
I think like the Texans are going to have to throw the ball. I don't think that their offensive line's set up to run the ball at all, and they're going to have to try and get the ball out quickly, and they're going to have to be creative with the passing game. But Genty, like, I know it's been the last time a rookie running back was RB1 overall was Saquon Barkley. Like, it doesn't happen very often, but path to 300 plus touches seems so obvious, and I'm not too worried about Raheem Mostert. Like, I'll mix in a bit of Mostert in the 20th round of drafts on 20 round platforms, but in general, Jenny could absolutely be a superstar from day one.
Most definitely. I was hoping who could make it.
Well, should we double running back it and take Devin Acham maybe?
Yeah, let's do a different build. I'm not familiar with this. Oh my God, I messed up. I can't believe I just did that. I was just going to say I never double tap running back to start. So I guess I won't be doing that in this draft either.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to make an argument that like Acham kind of has so much upside, so much path to big volume and stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that I look for in that. But I'm more than okay with AJ Brown. Like, last year wasn't an incredible year for him in terms of how he scored fantasy points, but it was a really decent year in general. Like, you know, he didn't disappoint with kind of how he played on the field. He was still getting targeted at a reasonable rate. You know, he had a 31% target share, which was second highest among wide receivers, had the fifth most receiving yards per game at over 80. It just ended up translating to like wide receiver 16 in total PPR points because he just didn't quite get the touchdowns to go with it. Like, you know, 7.5 targets per game. It's a little lower volume than we'd like, but if anything happens to Saquon, then how much, you know, people might want to say Will Shipley's a great option, but I think it's much more likely that we see a Pro Bowl level wide receiver in AJ Brown suddenly smash.
Yeah. I like that. I think the event that Saquon is not the guy you need this year, like that probably speaks well for AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, you know, Devonta Smith in the offense, because I just think they're too good in the trenches on both sides to just be a team that's going to, you know, take a big step back offensively, assuming that Jalen Hurts doesn't, you know, obviously get hurt.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, when he did get hurt, we saw Kenny Pickett slinging it to AJ Brown with some of his most productive games. So maybe they could figure it out. Like, yeah, I'm not clicking huge amounts of AJ Brown, but I probably should be clicking him a little more often.
Yeah. I got a guy I don't love here. So this will be a different draft to navigate, but that's fine. Let's pick here, and then we can answer the question. So Tom does a lot of content year round, so he'd be a good guy to answer this question. Who do you like here? And that's what he does at the Fantasy Sanctuaries. They cover everything.
Let's get us pick out of the way and then come back to it.
Devontae or JSN or.
I think let's go JSN. So as we put Devontae on the last one, like I really do like JSN. I thought he broke out in such a great way. So PPR 5, keep it, Dynasty League. Who you all taking? Man, I think it's probably Rashee Rice. Like in terms of the one who's going to give you the most value straight away. And
Yeah.
if you're willing to wait on it, then Travis Hunter obviously has huge amounts of upside, but I'd definitely be leaning towards the wide receivers. And Rashee Rice might not be as popular for everyone, but it's hard to say no to that kind of role and being attached to Mahomes.
Do we take Devonta and see if Hurts falls to us?
Yeah, let's do it, man. That's too much fun to pass up.
Yeah. Might as well. Yeah, I honestly, I love the way you answer that. I agree. Rashee Rice, I think, has a – yeah, Rashee Rice probably this year would be my answer. I think Travis Hunter definitely has the highest ceiling long-term of those. So if you're willing to take a longer view, he would be my answer too.
Yeah, I think like if you're rebuilding, then you can talk yourself into Travis Hunter or even potentially Marion Hampton being the pick. Whereas if you're kind of win now, then I'd much rather lean to Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
Got a 2 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 tight end team out of 4.
Oh my gosh. Gotten a few of those. It's so funny. I did a draft the other day, and at the 12 spot, he took Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, and I'm pretty sure they have the same bye week, from what I remember.
Oh, they do, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, you got to draft another. I mean, maybe you don't, but you probably should. Another quarterback. Yeah, I would never double tap quarterback to start a draft, but that's just me.
I mean, like, we've seen people try that over the years. We've seen the double elite quarterback drafts and people try to make it work, or the solo tight end teams, and it just sometimes gets a bit messy.
Yeah. They got a stacked team.
Yeah.
Is that an 8-person league?
Oh man, there goes Jalen Hurts, but that's all right. We'll make it work.
I guess they had to stack him with Saquon and just be a jerk. It's fine.
I mean, hey, you are saying I'm going to get all the touchdowns there.
True. All right, so we can think about, I mean, Darnold be a late stack potentially. I'm not high on Darnold, but if you're in desperation mode, sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure that out later. I like Jalen Waddle. I kind of think that he's been slept on. I mentioned, but I think that the Dolphins' defense is going to be so bad, it's going to push them into pass-heavy scripts. I do like Calvin Ridley as well, but I prefer Waddle.
Let's do it, because I've been getting a lot of Ridley, and I want to make sure that I'm clicking Waddle's name a little bit more in that turn.
Yeah, like Waddle last year, you go back and you look at the splits in the games with and without Tua, he was averaging like 4 PPR points more in those games with Tua. And look, we know better than to try and count on Tua's health status for an entire season, but I don't want to discount it because everyone's injury prone until they're not.
Yeah. I agree with that. Not too worried about the injury.
No, I mean, he's out there, he's participating. They think he'll be fine for training camp. So I think we just got to lean into that for the moment and trust it. Who do you like here, man?
Kind of like Dunze.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably not had that much Dunze, but I think as our 5th wide receiver, it's a lot more palatable than like if you've taken a running back and a tight end, or a running back and a quarterback, and you're getting him as like your wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4.
Yeah. I think my thought process there was we're just giving ourselves more opportunities to stack since we missed out on the Hurts to AJ Devonta stack. And I don't want Sam Darnold to be my QB1 or Tua, who might not make it through the season. So maybe we can get Caleb and get like Luther Burden late,
Yeah, like Caleb's fallen at the minute. I think he's down like 10 spots over the course of the last 3 weeks. And it just doesn't really make sense to me because they've rebuilt the offensive line. They have the 2 big free agency pickups. They drafted a guy as well. And Ben Johnson is the factor, like, within all of it. Like, I'm just completely willing to say that I trust Ben Johnson. I trust this guy who was like the most sought after coach this offseason to get it together and make something out of Caleb, a guy that a year ago people were losing their mind on. And we saw from another guy that we drafted, JSN, how good he became when he got free of Shane Waldron. And why can't the same happen for Caleb Williams?
Yeah, no, and they're so loaded with talent. Like DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, who was a top 10 pick last year. Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, like, and Caleb Williams, who was the number 1 overall pick, and like consensus number 1 overall pick for 2 years. So like, there's no reason why they shouldn't be good unless Caleb just doesn't have it at this level. But
Yeah,
we saw a lot of flashes last year that he should have it if if his head's in the game and he's got the right coaching.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just so much of it comes down to that. So much of it comes down to the line giving him time, and so much of it comes down to the play calling. And I don't think he had really had support in a lot of those factors last year. So hopefully we do see it. Because, I mean, look, it's much like Trevor Lawrence. You just want these highly touted prospects to be fun and to give you some good times from them. We're 2 picks away. Like, do you think we need to hit a running back, or should we just take one more wide receiver and maybe be done with the position till really late?
It's a good point. If Swift's there, that does stack nice with Caleb. And Adunze, what do you think? Or we could take Pacheco or Aaron Jones.
Let's take Pacheco. I just can't do it with DeAndre Swift. Like, he just seems to play his way out of favor so often. And I know as the veterans come off the market, but it looks more and more like DeAndre Swift's backfield. But I just kind of worry that it's a long season, and you can make additions, you can find other players.
Overall, I'm with you on that. I have taken some Swift early, but lately I've been trying to target Roschon Johnson, and I think he's a guy that we can get late and would be good value,
Yeah, I mean, Roschon Johnson's probably the biggest riser in ADP since drafts opened. He's just constantly been rising.
Have you gotten any of is it the Monganani? I don't know how to pronounce it.
I think I've picked him a couple of times in like 20-round drafters drafts, but not in underdog drafts. Let's see. I like Darnell Mooney here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've been clicking Mooney's name for sure this year, and so if we're doing Chicago, we're probably out on San Francisco. They're all taken as a Week 17 correlation. Who we got for Philly? Who are they playing against?
Buffalo? So Philly, that does sound right. Just give me one second. I've closed that tab now, obviously.
That's okay. Yeah, I think Philly's playing against Buffalo Week 17.
Yeah, that's right. So, like, I mean, there's guys like Josh Palmer coming up. Obviously, you could go Dalton Kincaid, who, I don't really want to draft huge amounts of, but I kind of find myself doing so. So, yeah, I think there's little ones that we can make work still. And then also, like, in terms of backstacking, we could still get to Tua, we can get to Sam Darnold, we can get to even Geno with Genti. Like, if we're expecting Ashton Genti to see a whole bunch of pass catching work, then I'd be okay with Geno.
Maybe stack him with Thornton late if we go that route.
Yeah, definitely. Or even, you play the other side and go, if everybody's fading Jack Besh, why don't we lean into it and maybe we get him at a slightly better value than everybody who's been playing the Schnauzer over the last couple of weeks gets.
Yeah, that's kind of that thing where we talk about some of the best ball guys. I know some of the guys over at like Spike Week and Pat Corain, they talk about, the week 1 brain versus the week 17 brain. Like, Jack Besh, maybe he didn't look very good in OTAs, but he had a pretty good draft profile, and maybe he comes on late in the season. Yeah,
I mean, I was surprised when they drafted him where they did, but I think the thing with Jack Besh is that he can play inside and outside, whereas Dante Thornton, that's not really what you're getting. You're only getting a single role out of him, probably, unless he's developed massively this offseason. So I think you can lean into it from 2 different points of view, and like you say, go with kind of mindset of not just week 1 brain, because we don't need Jack Besh out there for week 1. We've got a pretty stacked wide receiver room, but obviously disappointing that Caleb went there.
Yeah. All right. So we missed out on Caleb.
Yeah. So maybe we could just punt things off a little bit. Maybe we'd be all right taking Jonnu Smith here.
Oh crap! I took Tracy. I was about to auto. Sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, what if Jonnu Smith makes it back around, because he's been falling ever since the trade talk to the Steelers, then that gives a potential double stack for the Dolphins, which kind of makes things start feeling a little bit more healthy.
Definitely, yeah. Or we can get Drake May and kind of maybe try to stack him with Williams, who will probably be gone, or Hunter Henry. Just because May is kind of like when I try to get my stacks and I run out, May's like kind of like my audible.
Yeah.
And, okay, so who are we trying to
get? Jonnu's gone, hasn't he?
Okay.
Yeah, so let's go Drake May then. Drake May just went for us. Okay, so let's see. What about take Mark Andrews and just punt the position off for a minute?
I was about to auto again. All right, so we can get Stroud with Higgins potentially. Cam Ward's been another guy because you could stack him late.
Yeah, it's so much easier. Cam Ward, Bryce Young, those guys, we can, figure a little ways out on them. And then obviously there's Darnold still. So I think we're still in an okay place.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4. All right, we're done at wide receiver for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're loaded there. All right. Yeah, it's when you're doing this, when you're not streaming, it's easier to plan it out a little bit sometimes and just be like, maybe I'll just reach here.
Yeah. I mean, Caleb Williams probably should have made it back to us. I'm not kicking ourselves for pushing that one there. That team, I didn't see whether they had DJ Moore or anything to make it kind of worth them taking Caleb Williams. But hey, that's just the way it goes sometimes.
For sure. And there was definitely a run on quarterbacks. I mean, between those picks, there were 7 quarterbacks taken.
Yeah, and that's kind of the spot, isn't it? Because the wide receivers dry up. Once you get past like Michael Pittman, the wide receiver range just becomes so rotten. The running back range becomes such a question mark that it becomes difficult. So, yeah, I mean, we do see that from time to time. But hey, I think there's still lots that I like on the board.
Absolutely. So do we take Ramondre or like a Bashal too? I mean, maybe we could take Dobbins, or do we just get Stroud to get our stack?
Let's just lock in Stroud, shall we? And not have to worry about, scrambling really further. Right. I think there's enough quality on the board that we'd be pretty happy with whatever option comes back at that point.
And we still have Schultz. We could stack with him. Kirk, right? If maybe like a last.
Yeah. Jalen Noel.
Nah, it's too. Yeah, Noel will be better. We're not taking another wide receiver just yet. Like that. All right.
Yeah.
Definitely need to look at taking.
Yeah, we've got running backs, tight ends that we need, but there's plenty of them for this part. And maybe we end up just building a bit more fragile to just hammer that running back position or see what falls. But I'd be good with Ramondre. I know you mentioned before falling 16 picks past ADP.
Love it. Yeah, from everything that we've heard, he's still going to get a lot of carries this year. And loves seeing that ADP value.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the fumbling cost him a bit last year, but look, it's kind of the thing of wide receivers dropping the ball. If you're good, you can get away with it. And Ramondre didn't play great last year, but nobody on the Patriots offense played good last year. I think that with the new coaching staff, a more competent coaching staff, he's going to get opportunities, and I'm willing to make that bet, because as much as I like this rookie class and as much as I'm confident in this rookie class and it's given us teams that we can build completely different to years gone by, it wouldn't be completely surprising to see a rookie running back come in and just be poor in pass protection, or come in and just not be able to get the holes that he should be because the game's so much quicker. And if you pretend that that's not a possibility, it's it's just naive.
Most definitely, yeah, it happens very often, for sure. Which is why I think J.K. Dobbins is such a good value right now because one of the things about R.J. Harvey and his profile is he wasn't very good in pass protection, so that means that J.K. Dobbins is going to be on the field. And Sean Payton has had multiple running backs, have productive seasons, but you're getting Dobbins at like 135 right now. 140.
Dobbins was like 4th in PFF pass block grade last year as well among running backs. Like that counts significantly. And Peyton's talked about how they will get RJ Harvey on the field for passing downs, but it'll mean they've got a tight end in their blocking as well. So yeah, it's no huge knock like in terms of like stopping me from drafting RJ Harvey, but like I just always felt like the price was a little too high on him anyway.
Agreed. Now, do we take Likely or do we go down a little bit and make sure we get Cam Ward? Likely falling past ADP. We need a tight end.
Yeah, I'd be okay with taking Likely there.
Okay. I'm a big fan of his this year, and I know you are as a Ravens fan. I heard you yesterday on your show. I just think he's probably going to get a contract by the time training camp opens up. They see him as the future. Like Mark Andrews' 11 touchdowns last year isn't going away, but they seem to be ready and willing to look towards the future a bit. And the fact they were even open to trade offers on Mark Andrews this year kind of speaks volumes. Even if it's a situation where Lamar does want him around, I think we'll just see Likely become the tight end one. And whilst you don't want to go too crazy with the price on that, when we're getting him in the pick 150, 160 range, that's completely fine. Agreed.
Are we just locking up a second quarterback, or do you want to hit another position here?
I think we take Pat Freiermuth, I like Freiermuth.
Okay, I'd be okay with that.
Okay. Just because Cam Ward went, and I think we can get Darnold on the way back around.
Yeah.
Could be wrong, but we have JSN, and there's been so many of these guys have taken multiple quarterbacks.
Yeah, where did the Cup draft go?
Yeah.
I just never see Cooper Kupp. He just doesn't exist on draft boards to me a lot of times. So.
I know. He got taken 91. See, that's a big fade for me with Cooper Kupp, especially in half PPR. I don't know. I don't see him getting that many touchdowns this year. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, particularly like my stance is just I'm going to lean into the running game. I'm going to lean into JSN, and that's about it, really. Like, look, I mean, I'll take a 20th round dart throw on MVS every now and again if I feel like I need some upside, but I'm sure Kupp can play to a reasonable standard this year, but I'm not counting on it.
Right. I'm with you. He looked done to me last year. Very much so. And that's one of the reasons I like Likely so much is because he just looked like an ascending player, and given, that Andrews misses significant time or continues his decline, I think Likely could end up like tight end one is not like out of the realm of possibility, or at least like top 5, I think.
Yeah, I guess my main kind of cause for concern would be just like if the Ravens defense is significantly better this year. We've seen the additions like Jair Alexander, Malachi Starks on defense. Like if they're significantly better, maybe we get less passing volume, but I think they'll still be an efficient offense, and that's worth betting on.
Agreed. So glad we got Stroud because I hate the quarterbacks that we have. I think we have to take Rodgers here.
Yeah, I guess so. At ADP, if we don't take Rodgers here, it's going to get pretty dark pretty early.
Yeah, and we definitely need to lean into Stroud.
Yeah, I think we've probably got to either just take Stroud on the next one. Take Noel on the next one.
Yeah.
If he goes, then we just slam Daniel Jones and just accept that it's going to be pretty grim.
Yeah. Oh man, if we only got the Hurts stack that we were going for.
Hey, I mean, we got out of the first draft pretty snipe free and felt pretty good about it, so we can't complain too much.
Exactly, it was bound to happen. These things happen. There goes Daniel Jones.
Of course, right move to take Rodgers. Then at least we got that stack with Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah. There goes Wilson. We'll take Noel right here.
Yeah, I think we just got to save us a 2 QB team now. Like, I don't think that Is there anyone like left at QB who you would make an argument for now?
I mean, not really. I mean, none of these guys are any good. It's a lotto ticket. Like maybe Richardson comes into camp healthy and he actually wins the job. Highly unlikely at this point, but who knows?
Yeah, I was pulling some stats on Richardson. Like, I was just kind of like intrigued on the completion percentage. Like, he completed 47.7% of his passes last year. And you go back to the start of 2006, the only other QBs who dropped back 250 or more times and completed less than 50% of their passes were Jamarcus Russell, who completed 47.8% of his passes, never started another game after that season, and Tim Tebow, who completed like 48.6% of his passes and only threw another 6 balls after that season. So it's like you can make a hot take quite easily that Anthony Richardson's never going to throw another ball in the NFL. I do think he'll throw a ball in the NFL again. I do think that he's got more long-term potential because people understand how to develop these kind of guys potentially. But I just don't see it right now. And everything that we're hearing out of Colts is just that Daniel Jones is significantly ahead in the QB competition. I think that the coaching staff are coaching for their jobs, really, you know, between the turnover at ownership because of what happened with Jim Irsay, unfortunately. They're going to be people who've got their own ideas, not as loyal to the guys in charge. And I do worry that we're going to see some decisions made under pressure that perhaps aren't the best decisions long term, but like I think it's Daniel Jones' job to lose at this point.
I agree with you, and that's why I've been targeting him late, you know, when I can in 3 quarterback builds. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I'm comfortable with this being a 2 QB team. I mean, at least we got Stroud stacked, and we just have to accept that QB's a little bit of a weakness for us, but it's the most replaceable position on the roster. And we should we take a running back? Yeah, like, I love Marshawn Lloyd. I don't know about you.
Let's do it. I haven't got any of him yet, so I think it's time to start getting some Lloyd.
Drafting far too much Marshawn Lloyd. It's like it was such a freak year last year between the groin injury, the thigh injury, and then the appendicitis. Like he struck out really poorly, and the Packers, if they end up being as run heavy as they were last year, then I think we definitely see plenty of Marshawn Lloyd, even if Josh Jacobs is healthy.
I'm with that. I think that's a good.
What about you? Do you want Jackson Dart or your boy Taj?
Let's just get Dart. Because the thing is like the case for Dart is he actually is going to start games this year. Like that's clear. I mean, Ian Rappaport just said today he's going to start games this year. So maybe he comes in and he's good and he gives us some spike weeks, and you know that's what we need. But
I'm still expecting him to
start.
Plus,
we got Tracy. So
yeah, I'm still expecting him to start by like week 6, week 7. I think he starts the majority of games quite easily because they need to show they're developing someone. Like starting Russell Wilson doesn't do a lot for him. Yeah, it gets him maybe some cheap, easy wins, but I don't think that it's going to be that big.
I agree. You know, I think overall, I like the first draft better, of course, Tom. But I think this kind of right away we meant to get Gianti and Devin H. on, and when we got AJ Brown, and then we missed out on Devonta Smith. But that said, there's still like some very heavy hitters. Like this team is loaded on offense and wide receiver, of course. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm happy with this one. I think that you know you can always pick little holes and stuff like that.
Sure.
But if we can get another if we'd gotten another running back, maybe, and maybe one less wide receiver, maybe that would have felt a little more balanced, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, man, it was good picking your brain. I know it's late over across the pond, so we'll let you out of here in a second. We definitely got to hop on and do some more shows this year.
Yes, sir.
I'll join you for some best ball, some DFS talk. I'm all about it. So we got to do that. Tell everyone where they can find you at.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me if you're in a best ball Mondays on Fantasy Pros. I host Fantasy Pros Best Ball Show with Andrew Erickson. Every week we're on different platforms talking different strategies, stuff like that. Also on Mondays on Fantasy Sanctuary, my channel, we have our Underdog Best Ball Show where myself and Tyler go BBM every week with guests. I think we've got Pat Crane on with us next week.
Nice.
Yeah, Pat's always good. And then tomorrow I'll be live drafting in the FFPC Superflex contest. So lots going on. And you can find me on Twitter at NFL_TStrack. Just trying to do a better job of pushing my content out there. But yeah, man, busy season. Quite often just too busy making the content to remember to push it.
It is, yeah. For you guys specifically, trying to do hundreds of best ball drafts and pushing out content, like it's crazy.
Love it though, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing like maybe 150, like 200, and that's exhausting. Someone, doing. We have a guy, dfsarmy, who will do like 1,000, and I'm like, dude, I can imagine. So.
Hey, yeah, miss when it's here, the season's here, and can't draft any more best ball teams. That's when you miss it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I like to get into the battle royales on Underdog Fantasy because you still can draft and you don't have to do as many. You just have fun with it. But it was good having you on. Definitely check Tom's content out, top tier content that he puts out, and thanks for watching. We will be back next week, same time on Best Ball Brews. If you like this kind of content, let us know. Hit that like button, comment. Let us know if we are wrong on some of our takes, who you like. Just tell us in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification button for when we go live and do these drafts. So thanks again. See you next time. All right, man. Good.